First down, Rams. We are live once again on Wednesday night. We're not going to hear first down Rams in real life for a while.
We're not even going to see a first down unless we watch highlights.
Yeah. Oh, which of course we are going to watch highlights because we all need therapy. You know, Ramley therapy is the real thing.
You can't get through the offseason without watching highlights, whether it's from this season or years past. So I guess we'll see first downs. It's just not going to be current taking place in the Super Bowl like we wanted.
Yeah. But I am excited to be here tonight with you talking about the Rams. We're going to talk briefly about the Seahawks game. We'll talk about offseason, things like that. And, of course, everyone who's watching with us, whether you're live or on the replay, thank you so much for tuning on in. I'm glad you're here. Feel free to hit those like buttons and subscriptions. And we will, for those of you who are live, if you put questions in the chat or cool comments, we'll do our best to interact with you. We're going to go probably about an hour like we normally do. And let's start off though. Rams House, how you feeling with everything?
I'll say it's better today than the last few days have been.
Yeah.
So after the game ended, it was raw. And it was like it hadn't fully hit me yet, but I knew it would, especially after just like really sitting with it. And so right after the game, it was raw. It hurt. It did. But the next 2 days of being like, man, like there's not any more Rams football. And then also like realizing if they win that game, they go to the Super Bowl. And like just kind of going through the what if scenarios for sure made it sting more. And it still hurts like not talking about like normally by now I would have a game preview out previewing the next game. And it's been months since I haven't done a game preview. So it's those kinds of things where it's like, man, I just wanted to see another Rams game, whether they won the Super Bowl or not. And you want them to win the Super Bowl. It's like, you just want to be able to continue to watch more Rams football and talk about the story and the narrative of this team. Cause it was a really unique, cool team that you wanted. I feel like I found myself more personally of being more sad that the Rams lost this game, more so for the players than myself in this kind of team. Like when I see Devontae Adams crying in the locker room after the game of, obviously he's had 5 different opportunities to go to a Super Bowl and he's lost each one of those. And then you know what the season Stafford has and the fact he balled out and he couldn't go. So it's like those things for me is where I found myself of being like, man, like I wanted this more so for the players than even myself to be able to like brag about a Rams Super Bowl or whatever. And so that's kind of where I've rested, where it's like, at this point, I'm at peace with it. I think the more I think about what it could have been, it makes it hurt more. But I've kind of come to grips with what happened, and I'm kind of looking ahead. What about you?
Yeah, I'm feeling it a lot. I remember when I was in high school, I took a law class. I'm not a lawyer or anything like that, but it was an interesting class. The teacher was really cool. But the exam was really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we wrote the exam and we had all studied really hard for it. And everyone in the class failed the exam. And I remember the teacher saying the next class that I'm going to be honest with you guys, no one passed the exam. We're going to retake the exam after some like studying. So like, we had to restudy everything. And thankfully, we all did a lot better the second time. But when McVay talked about, like, you have to start over, that's a very, like, the feeling I had with that exam is what I feel is, like, magnified for these players and coaches. There's so much that goes into it of, like, you didn't accomplish your goal. You came so close.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to start over. You got to rewrite it again. And that is, I think, one of the hardest parts about like being an NFL, player or coach is that grind of like, by all, like, you look at teams like the Cardinals or the Browns or the Raiders or something. If they were like, hey, do you want to swap out your season for what the Rams season won? They wouldn't a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
But so, like, it was a really, like, there was some phenomenal football played by the Rams this year, but they came up short. And that is just hard. It's very
Yeah.
hard to come to terms with. And so I definitely had those couple days, but I am getting on the up and up, and I have not done a mock draft yet. I don't know when I'm gonna start one.
Not time yet, no.
Not ready to get there, but yeah. But let's shout out some people in the chat. We see Daniel here and Heather's here. Sajin is here. Good to see you, man. Yeah, good luck to your Seahawks, in the Super Bowl. Bruce is here. Yeah, Bruce, appreciate you so much. And I see David in the chat and Rob also in the chat. Appreciate you guys all tuning on in. We're all in this together, everyone. And fan taste. That's a good name.
Oh, yeah, I kind of look at this comment here from Rob that you just highlighted. It says very tough to take for sure. So many mistakes made by so many. Good thing we have next season to play the Super Bowl in Rams house.
Yeah,
and that is a really cool opportunity. I hope the Rams are able to earn that and be able to play there. But I think Rob's comment kind of brings me back to something that Sheriff Joe Bag said. I think it was on Tuna and the Sheriff. He said that this Rams team, the identity for him was the team that never met their potential. And that really resonated with me because it's like, obviously any team that plays at their best and doesn't make mistakes is going to look pretty good. But I think we saw flashes this season of when the Rams actually played their best football, how unbeatable they did look. And when they weren't shooting themselves in the foot, the amount of blowouts that we were able to see, including the 49ers, the Buccaneers, Cardinals, Jacksonville Jaguars, and London, like all those different things where you're like, okay, this is what the team looks like at their best. If they can do this, they can beat anybody. And I kind of go back to something that I said in my post game that was the biggest loss. If you take that Eagles game out of it, because really the Rams lost by 1 point to the Eagles. It was just a weird block kick return when the time expired already. The most the Rams lost by in this season was 4 points. And that was this most recent game. And even in that game, they weren't playing at their best. And even in that game, they had the muffed punt. They had different missed opportunities. And you credit Seattle with what they're able to do. But that's honestly where I resonate with is like this team, it never really felt like they fully met their potential aside from those blowouts that we saw. And it's like, man, if we could have just been playing like that, I mean, like, who knows what was ahead of this team. That's frustrating because you're never going to get this exact team back. You're never going to get this personnel back. There's going to be players that depart. There's going to be coaches that depart. And you're not going to get the same team again. And it's like, man, what could have been? Like, we were that close. But I agree with you with your point that you made about like the Cardinals fans, Browns fans, Jets fans that would trade for this season in a heartbeat. And to be honest, me being a fan, you being a fan of the St. Louis Rams in those rough years would have traded anything for a loss in the NFC Championship game. So there's definitely layers and perspective to have on this, but it is frustrating in a way when you're like, man, I feel like we never fully saw this team play to their potential. And if they did, that was before the postseason started.
No, and that well said. And I when Joe and Tuna were talking about that, I totally agree with them. And how often did we say on this show, we think the Rams' best football is ahead of them, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it ever came. I don't know if it ever came. Like you said, we had glimpses of it, but especially like with the pass rush, I feel like maybe it was a scheme thing, maybe it was a game plan thing, but we never really saw, like, can you look back at this season and be like, oh yeah, that game Jared Verse took over the whole game?
No.
He had like some really good like quarters or segments.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't like a statement like, oh yeah, Jared Verse like cementing himself as like one of the best pass rushers in the NFL.
Yeah. And I mean, you saw that with a bunch of different groups in this, even the pass rush as a whole, all year long. We were like, when is that game going to come? When it's those dominant Rams pass rush that we saw towards the end of last season. Like, we know that's coming, and it never fully clicked. I think if we had the kind of defensive performance, not just against like Sam Darnold, but the way our defense was playing in the back half of last season and into the playoffs with how good they were looking, if we had that in this game, I mean, I would feel pretty good about the Rams winning. But at the same time, it's like it's hard to compare and contrast different situations. The Seahawks are a lot better now. They're a completely different team. But it's like I keep going back to you in my head, and I don't want to take any credit away from the Seahawks, but I'm like, man, even if the Rams defense just played average, like I feel like we would have had enough to be able to win and get out of there. But at the end of the day, the Seahawks did play as the better team and they made less mistakes. Sam Darnold has had his best game as a professional football player.
Yeah.
And so they earned everything, every part of it. And I'm not trying to take anything away from it, but it's like, man, like even with us, that's where I keep coming back to. The Rams never got blown out this season. Every game that they lost, it was close. Even when they were at their worst, the games came down to the wire. And it's just like you just keep on thinking about like what if. And at the end of the day, that doesn't get you anywhere. But that's where I've kind of been.
Absolutely. Let's get to a couple comments here. I see Walt Nice 23 saying, I'm sad that we lost, but it's still the Rams all day. Anyway, thank you for this so I can cope. Oh, happy to do that and talk about my feelings. Rams fan from upstate New York. Thank you guys for what you do. Horns up. Well, thank you, Walt Nice.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that we can help you cope because you guys help us cope here too as well.
No, this is Ramley therapy. Ramley therapy. Justin, Rams fan forever, always making a party in the chat, saying that was great. We take Super Bowl 61 at Hollywood SoFi Stadium. You know, it didn't. It's funny. All season long, I knew that SoFi is hosting the Super Bowl next year, but it honestly didn't click to me. And I think it's just like the overly like positive Ram fans that are like, okay, we lost this year, we'll win it next year. It's so like, and that's awesome. Like, I like to think I'm a pretty positive Rams fan, but I am not quite at that level. So it just goes that 360 of like, oh, okay, we lost the NFC Championship game next year.
Yeah. Well, because it's like there's a long offseason there, but something I keep going back to is there are so many teams that have been great on paper that teams can build that just don't make the run for one reason or another. Mm-hmm. And great Super Bowl runs take so many things going right. Like health is a huge thing, obviously, throughout a season. If you get banged up, I mean, your chances just go down and down. The Rams had a really good year of injuries this year. Like they really didn't have to deal with a ton of those going on. So it's like the Rams, they can build a great team. They can be the best on paper. You just never know how the season's going to go. Yeah. And you never know matchups you could get next playoffs if the Rams make it. So that's the thing where it's like, it's so easy to say like, oh, we'll be back and all of that. But it's like, that's part of the reason why I was cherishing this playoff run that we had, because it's like, it's hard to do, even if you have a great team, even making it to the championship game. And obviously the opportunity was big with this Super Bowl, with playing the Patriots. I felt pretty good about that matchup. Whoever wins this game would go on to win the Super Bowl. So we'll see what ends up happening, what ends up playing out. I'll tell you one thing. If you gave me the choice to win one Super Bowl at SoFi or at Levi's, I would still take SoFi. Again, doing it back there again, it's a cooler stadium. That's, I guess, a way to cope with it. I don't know. But there's a long way till then. There's a lot of questions, a lot of different things Rams can do. But I definitely acknowledge that it takes a lot of things to go right to be able to have a good run.
Yeah. I want to talk Striker's Corner, and always a pleasure to see you. And we see Paul in here as well. Thank you. He brings up Rams snatch 2 corners or a quarterback in round 1. We're going to talk about the draft, and I'm kind of curious. I know it's way too early to truly speculate. There's still a lot of draft process that needs to happen and things like that, but just in regards to the Rams secondary as a whole, obviously Quentin Lake is coming back because he signed the extension. We don't know about Cam Curl. What do you think about, like Darius Williams, Emmanuel Forbes, Kobe Durant, who's also a free agent? Like, do you think that the Rams secondary could look substantially different next year?
100%. I think so. I mean, I think if the Rams had a better secondary, that gives them, again, a better chance against the Seahawks. You can't go back and relive that. But it wasn't just the Seahawks game where you just felt like, ooh, man, we could really upgrade that. There were a lot of games this season. I think back to the Panthers game that we lost. Even the Panthers game that we won in the playoffs, it was kind of rough in the secondary. And then against the Eagles earlier on in the year, do you remember when A.J. Brown just turned it on and we just could not stop him, Devontae Smith? So I've been on the camp for a while of like, as the season has gone on, you don't need to have these big name corners to be able to win a Super Bowl. And I still think like the Rams could have won a Super Bowl with the group that they had. But I think it's also dependent on, okay, how good is the pass rush producing? Because those things kind of go hand in hand with each other. And what I keep on going back to is I feel like the Rams are really good at learning from their mistakes when it comes to how to build a roster. And they've shown different ways to build a roster. And I just keep thinking back to everybody was saying the big reason the Rams didn't go to the Super Bowl last year and when we lost the Eagles was the run defense that got thrown out there all the time. And fans were talking about that. And that was a big point that needed to be addressed. And the Rams went out, they got Puna Ford, they got Nate Landman. And then obviously with Jared Goff all those years ago, he was a good quarterback, but he wasn't doing enough to get us over the top. And the Rams acknowledge that. They go out, they get Matthew Stafford, and here we are now. Same with the pass rush. Okay, pass rush isn't doing quite enough in that Super Bowl year. Let's go out, let's get Von Miller. I feel like this team does a really good job of acknowledging when things aren't working, when you can see kind of a clear thing getting in their way, of going out there and addressing it. And that's what makes this organization really good. And I call it like an aggressive impatience from Sean McVay and the organization. That's a good thing to have, to be able to
That's
recognize
well described.
Thank you. And so I feel like it's gone on long enough. I don't think you can just say we lost this game because of the secondary. I mean, that was a big reason. There's a lot of different layers that happened to it, but I think it's time where I think the secondary looks a lot different. How much money are the Rams going to put into that? How much draft capital we'll end up seeing? But I do think that there's going to be substantial changes just because I think that they're going to be able to recognize that this could be something that, hey, if you just add a couple of corners or you add a big player here, whatever, it's going to help your chances a lot. And that's where I think the Rams end up going.
No, I very much agree. I'm going to be curious because you look at it like the Rams have 10 draft picks this year, including the 2 first-round picks. And then I forget the exact number. I have it over here. But they have like some of them. Is this the most cap that they've had in the Sean McVay era?
I would doubt it.
Yeah,
I would doubt it.
It's a little tough right now because we don't know what the cap's going to go up to. But like right now, I see on overthecap.com 34 million in cap space.
Yeah, I think it's tough because no matter how much cap space you have right now, you do have to plan on all the extensions that the Rams are going to be doing with like Kobe Turner, Puka Nacua, Steve Avila. I mean, we already got Quentin Lake, Braden Fisk, like Jared Verse. So it's like no matter how much space they have right now, they definitely have to be smart with the moves and like be able to know what the ramifications are for bringing in big name players and doing things like that. Because it's like, yeah, you can bring those players in, but you're going to have to look at like pretty soon here, we're going to have to extend some big name players on this team. Right. So that's going to be an interesting balance that the Rams end up dealing with.
Yeah. Good to see Chosen in here, and he's saying if the Seahawks go back to back and Levi and stuff, I quit. Yeah, we'll have to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, we're gonna have to stand in their way. Did you see it? That's funny. I think a lot of Rams fans never let this go. He says, "Will Aaron Donald be coming back for a stint next season?"
I'm okay if that's a speculation. I wanted him to at least put like pads and a jersey on to scare the Seahawks on Sunday, right?
That would have been hilarious to see the reaction that would happen. Did you see on his podcast that he was on today? There was a clip that I saw going around about how much he wanted to suit up.
Right?
Like
or
maybe
he wanted to in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Maybe that's the answer for the Rams to be able to convince him to come back. Just keep him on the sidelines because that's the closest he got to wanting to come back. But yeah, I mean, it is crazy how close the Rams were in this game to win, even with those mistakes and things, and how well the Rams offense did move on the best defense in football. Back-to-back games, they were able to do that super well. It came down to the wire, and definitely proud of what they're able to do, because I think a theme that we saw a lot this season is the ability just not to give up in a game. I talked about like never being blown out, never losing by more than 10 points. And it was cool to see that even in the Falcons game when we were down 21-3, we almost came back and won that game. And at one point in this game, it was 31-20 and the Rams could have just given up. And then they come back, they respond, they keep it in a game. But would you say that the Rams special teams is going to be overhauled this offseason?
Got it.
Similar to what we talked about with the secondary.
Yeah.
After what happened.
I want like extreme makeover Rams special teams edition. Let's renovate it. Go to Home Depot, get the DUI guide. Yeah, just got it. Like now, I think Ethan Evans and Mevis are safe.
Oh yeah.
Will Jake McQuaid at 39 years young, he'll be 40 next year, want to come back as the long snapper?
I say yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. I could see a scenario where we see a lot of different faces on special teams, which is not uncommon for an NFL team to do. Like the Rams have kind of actually had some pretty like big consistency, even though they haven't been the most productive special teams unit over the past couple of years. But with Chase Blackburn being, let go and the Rams moving on, I'm actually first curious what they're going to do with the coordinator position. Like, do they are they hiring right now? Right. Like,
yeah, I think they're keeping their options open, and they're seeing coordinators that they can interview. I think they're interviewing one from the Browns that I saw earlier today. But in your mind, what does it look like to overhaul and improve the special teams? Because I keep trying to figure out what does that look like. Like I would love to have Bones Fossil come back, but I think adding a dynamic returner would be big. But is there like any other things that you think of?
So there's two things. I would love for the Rams to get way better at punt coverage because it's been an area of struggle. And then also, I feel like every kickoff return, it's always like, oh, he's returning it, and okay, they get between like the 25 and the 35 and just somewhere in there, and it's just they run into a pile of players, and that's just the way it goes. Like, I can't think of a return this year that was ever like, oh, he could take it to the house, right? And I feel like that's something that could improve on, like just having at least that excitement as a fan of like, oh, this guy's back there, like he could do it, right? So I would love for the Rams special teams to be an area that's like this year it was either a liability or not really a factor. It didn't win them the game or didn't lose them the game. It was like those two things. Was there ever, like, besides Ethan Evans' punt against the Seahawks in the first game, was there really like a special teams play that really stuck out to you this year?
Yeah, I think of the most recent of like the Bears game with Mevis putting it through, but we already talked about like Mevis wasn't really the problem.
Yeah.
I think the thought that comes to mind is a huge kick return Whittington had that got taken back against the Texans. It was all the way back in week 1.
Right.
But that was like, even with that, there was a flag that called it back. So yeah, there wasn't really a lot of big moments. And I think that
Troy Reader's, recovered a fumble on a
that was pretty big. Troy Reader shout out.
Yeah.
I think special teams doesn't need to be the reason that you win games. It doesn't need to be the big standout thing, but as long as it's not losing you games, this Rams team is good enough to be able to go out and make another run. And that's the thing where it's like the special teams, I think, got better at not losing you games at the end of the year with their new coordinator there. But then obviously Xavier Smith did what he's never done. He muffed 2 punts. And then even against Carolina, the blocked punt that happened there. So it's like, I think that's where I'm at as a fan. I'm like, if they can get a good returner, whatever way it looks, to be able to do that, that would be really nice. It's not a necessity, but it'd be really nice. But to me, at the end of the day, I'm like, just have special teams be something like a long snapper, where it's like you don't really talk about them, and that's a good thing. Like you don't really have to worry about them. They don't have to be a highlight point, but like it obviously has to be addressed. I think this is a good comment here though by Ken. He says, why wouldn't the Rams use Tutu Atwell at kick returner or punt returner? Has anyone ever asked McVay? I got sick of watching our returners catch the ball and then run up a blocker's back. Shaking my head.
Ken, you're the man. Yes, this is well said. Well said. I totally 100% agree with this comment. I didn't know how to put it into words. Ken, you wrote it perfectly in the chat. Thank you so much. Okay, first off, to unpack this, I feel like when Tutu Atwell was drafted in the second round, every Rams fan out there was like, oh, sweet, we got a new like return ace. I don't think he's ever returned a punt, or maybe he did a kickoff return once.
I think preseason, I remember, but
maybe that like it, right? And then like So they re-sign him to the 1 year, $10 million deal, and they clearly had a role for him early in the year. And I do think it's safe to say that the injuries kind of derailed his season a little bit. It seems like he was dealing with some soft tissue stuff. But I if the Rams bring Tutu Atwell back again, I really am going to question why. And I love Tutu, Chugga Chugga, Tutu, love it. Like I think that I don't think he's done as an NFL player, but I
No.
do think his time with the Rams is coming to an end. His deal was always kind of a 1 year prove it deal.
Mhm.
The Rams probably paid him more than any other team would have paid him. And I think he likes living in LA. I think he likes being with the Rams. So unless he comes back on a really, veteran kind of minimum contract, I don't see Tutu Atwell coming back this year.
Yeah.
And I don't know why the Rams never used him in the return game.
I think honestly, this is kind of where I'm at with this comment. It says Tutu would get smashed. He isn't that big of a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you could make an argument with the new kick return rules that it would have been more feasible to put him back there because there's not guys already just running at you full speed. But the Rams did put Tutu Atwell at kick and punt returner in the preseason, and I remember he got hurt pretty quick there,
Yeah.
like in his rookie year. I just don't think it's smart to put a guy that's small and skinny. It's like to put him in that role. So I think that would be the dream scenario if you just knew he wouldn't get hurt or beat up or crushed in a way. He has good speed, but I think there was a different answer out there, and that's where I'm kind of confused because a couple of years ago, like in the not this season that we just played, the one before that, Jordan Whittington had multiple moments where he almost broke a kick return. I remember that distinctly, where I was like, man, like Whittington is a good
Yeah.
returner. There were so many times he almost broke it, and then this year, as people mentioned, it was like he'd run right into the back of his blockers.
Yep.
And it's like clearly there's not something that changed there. Like it's not
Yeah.
like he just forgot how to do it. Is it worse blocking? Is it like that's where I'm confused because I think Whittington, obviously he used to be a running back and he's a receiver now. I still think he can be a good returner and he showed those flashes, but then this year there was just nothing other than that one that got called back. So that's where I'm kind of confused.
Well, and like when McVay talks about like attacking success, right? Does that include special teams? Because we didn't like the Rams probably have the most boring special teams strategies in the NFL right now.
Mhm.
And like I wouldn't say that it's this area that the Rams prioritize a lot. Like it seems like they do it more to like be just cautious and they want their offense or defense to make the plays. They just like I feel like if they could just take kickoff return totally out of the game, then they would.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not an area of priority for the Rams that hasn't been a spot where they've just wanted to invest in. And every team has to choose those areas of okay, like let's not put a bunch of resources in here, let's put it in here. And I think that's just been the case for the Rams, which is interesting because when Sean McVay first came, special teams was a legitimate strength for the Rams.
Yeah.
Whether it was like Johnny Hecker or Pharaoh Cooper before all this stuff happened at the end of his time with the Rams. Like special team and Greg Zuerlein, like there was special teams was a strength.
Yeah.
And obviously that just hasn't been prioritized. I would love to get Bones Fossil back. He's not available, but I think that would actually help a lot. But yeah, honestly, I'm still at that point where it's like it would be nice to have special teams be like a threat like it is for Seattle, especially having a really good returner and all of that. And I'd love that, but I just don't want it to lose games for us.
Yeah. And like you look at it, how valuable has that in-season trade for Shaheed been for the Seahawks, right?
Oh yeah. Very
Like
valuable.
he's he is one of the reasons they've made it to the Super Bowl, right? Like he had the kick return for a touchdown against the Niners. He had the big 51-yarder, and even just him as a threat,
Mhm.
you have to accommodate that in your game plan for him, right? Because he
Mhm.
is such a threat to take it to the house, right?
And you look at it, if they don't have Shaheed, we probably got the 1 seed. Like,
Yeah,
as crazy as that sounds, in that Thursday night football game, we're up 16 points, and he has the punt
100%.
return, and that breaks the whole game open. If he doesn't have that, I'm pretty confident the Rams win. So, yeah, that was definitely a big trade. I don't even think the Rams were involved in trying to get him, but I think he would have fit our offense. He would have. It's just like they just didn't decide to go that way. But it'll be interesting to see how they attack special teams this year, because I feel very confident that they're going to attack the secondary and the cornerback room pretty aggressively. It's special teams, I'm like, maybe they go after a returner. I'm just like, I still kind of have to see it to believe it, to see if they like, are they really going to try to go out there and fix it? Somebody had a good comment. I can't find it anymore. But somebody was talking about how McVay was always preaching like he just instilled motivation to the point where it's like the mistakes. He almost thought that they could overcome the mistakes based on like the willpower of the fight, the team that they had, almost like overlooking some of the blind spots. And in the playoffs, those ended up getting exposed, especially special teams. But it was confusing because Xavier Smith, the entire year, he never muffed a single punt. Like he was as secure as they came. And then that game, I don't know if it was the lights. I don't know if it was, you know, the Seahawks punter is really good, but like it's confusing what disconnected there.
Yeah, and I feel for Xavier Smith because he's someone you know Ram fans have been cheering for years, right? Going undrafted, his first touch in the NFL, it was against the Niners, and he had a good like punt return that set up the Rams like game-winning field goal. And yeah, it's tough. It is tough, and I feel for him. I don't know if we see Xavier Smith returning punts again for the Rams, and it sucks because if he doesn't muff that punt, I think he has a greater chance of coming back. But well, yeah, questions to be answered for sure. We see Sheriff Joe Bags in the chat. We see Edwin also in the chat. Johnny Ripples here. It's good to see everyone. Thanks for hanging out with us in the Ramley therapy session. What are your thoughts on? I know people are gonna make a big deal about the Matthew Stafford retirement and things like that. You and I haven't really talked about it too much. I think we're on the same page though of like okay, let's do on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being he's for sure coming back next year, 1 being like he's for sure going to retire. Where are you on the Matthew Stafford going to retire scale? And everyone in the chat, I would love to know your thoughts as well. 1 to 10, what do you think? Put it in the chat.
I'm at like an 8 right now.
8?
I feel pretty confident he comes back. I know that he has full capability of coming back. All the talent is still there. Yep. To me, it's just like I can't get in his head of what he's thinking. Like, was this really the year where he's like, I'm just going to enjoy this, do the best I can, and go out? Is he like, I can't get in his head, so I can't put it out a full 10. I think he has every capability in the world to do it, but there's just a lot of things that go into it. So I have it at an 8 right now.
Okay, I'm at a 9.5. And I think the only 0.5 that's there is you got to figure out the contract and stuff. Mm-hmm. And, Stafford seemed really frustrated when he was asked about it after the game, which I kind of did think the reporter, you didn't need to ask him right then and there that he's going to get asked a ton about it. But no, I think Stafford comes back. They got to figure out the money. They got to figure out what this team's going to look like next year, do kind of that debrief thing. But yeah, I'm thinking 9.5. Matthew Stafford is not going to retire, and he's coming back. I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, I think I've learned my lessons of like every single player has different motivations and desires and things going on in their head that makes them go one way or another. Because at the end of the day, like we never knew Aaron Donald was retiring the year that he did. And the whole reason he retired is because he said he was tired of the grind and the work to be able to do that. He don't want to just treat football like a way just to get another paycheck and to be able to just go out there just to make more money and just be a household name and all of that. It was like he wanted it to go out with his best year of just doing the things the way he's done it. And for Stafford, it's like, again, the storyline I thought was blown up at the time, like more than it should have been. But really, like he could have been on IR to start the season with that back injury. And somehow he made it through the entire year. I still don't understand how he was able to do that. But it's like, does he want to spend more time with his family? Is this really the year where he just was feeling mentally fatigued of the prep that goes into everything? I think as a competitor, he still has that itch in his body to be able to go out there. And he wants to right what went wrong in this season, how it didn't finish the right way. But it's like, you got to think as a player, like the season starts in like March for them, April. And it's a long season. So I feel pretty confident, that he's going to come back. I know he has the capability to play another 3 years if he wanted to, but I just don't want to stamp it and be like, oh yeah, he's coming back, because at the end of the day, we don't know.
Yeah. I see we got Mike here, the AG Sports fan.
What's
Good
up,
to
Mike?
see you, Mike. Rams House and I were talking about how we've enjoyed your coverage of the Cardinals head coaching search. So
Yeah.
blessing on you is I hope your sanity is intact after that. But he has a question here. Said, would you guys draft a quarterback if Stafford comes back, like a Ty Simpson? I've seen some mocks draft that have you guys trade back up. Thoughts?
Yeah. For me, I don't
question.
think that is a good question.
Yeah.
I don't think that this is the year that the Rams would get a quarterback, even if Stafford retired. I don't think they'd get one through the draft. And the things that us Rams fans kind of understand is there's this feeling around Sean McVay that he likes to have the veteran kind of quarterback, the one that knows what's going on. That's why he liked Stafford so much. And it was never a question of, can Jared Goff be good enough? It was just like in that window that the Rams had, Matthew Stafford was the better option, and that's what Sean McVay wanted. He wanted a quarterback that knew what he was doing. He's kind of like an impatient guy, is what we understand from the perspective of this. And so it's hard to imagine them drafting a quarterback unless they're really sold on, like, oh yeah, like this is a generational prospect. And even in a situation where the Rams draft a quarterback, like the QB of the future, I think it would be in a case of like, this guy's going to sit for kind of like Jordan Love did. So I don't see a quarterback being drafted by the Rams. And there's been a conspiracy of like, if Stafford retires, if that ends up going down, do the Rams use their 2 first-round picks to go get like a Joe Burrow or something like that? And I think that there's legitimate weight to that. That something Rich Eisen has said a lot of times is that whenever Stafford leaves the Rams, this is going to be the most admirable situation for any quarterback looking to go. And like, you want to come to the Rams, Los Angeles, with this supporting cast. So that's a long way of answering of, I'd be surprised if the Rams drafted a quarterback, even if Stafford retired. I think they would go to the trade market if they could find anything like that. And if there's no trades there, I think they'd ride with Jimmy Garoppolo before drafting a quarterback, to be honest with you, just because he's been there, he's the veteran, and that feels like that's what McVay wants from my perspective. What do you think, Peo?
I think the only way the Rams draft a quarterback is if they move on from Stetson Bennett. I'm confident Stafford comes back. I'm confident Jimmy Garoppolo loves being the backup quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
He seems quite content in that role. But Stetson Bennett's the question mark, right? Have we seen enough from Stetson Bennett for him to stay the emergency third string quarterback that's you're developing? I don't know. Like, he's had some good preseason performances, and I have no problem cheering him on in the preseason. Do I want to see Stetson Bennett in a regular season game?
Higher register there.
Yeah, higher register. So, like, it comes back to the thing of do the Rams want to have a third string quarterback that they're going to be developing, right? Stetson Bennett is, he was older when he was drafted by the Rams. Maybe the Rams are like, hey, Stetson, like, all the best, go do what you got to do. Maybe play in Canada or something. But hey, I'm just saying, Johnny Manziel.
Specific.
If Stetson Bennett shows up on my favorite CFL team, the Tiger Cats, I will be so stoked. I'll be happy about that.
As you should.
Yeah. But no, I think the Rams will. I think Mike's not totally crazy to think the Rams will draft a quarterback to that late round flyer quarterback that you want to develop, right?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, like, there's not a ton of prospects that I know in this draft right now. Usually I find that out like later on, and I get a good sense of things. So I couldn't tell you if Ty Sampson was like a highly projected guy or who's supposed to go late. If the Rams decide to go with a quarterback, kind of like they did with Stetson Bennett, and they draft him later on, just to have developed behind the scenes, I could see that for sure. But I don't see that be as like, oh, this is the replacement or this is the guy for the future. Like, it would have to be so specific. Yeah. And I think Sheriff Joe Baggs put it in a really great way. He says, there is nothing about Sean McVay that feels like he wants to work with a rookie young guy in his offense. He's a proven liker of veterans. And that's where I'm at, where it's like, I don't know. It almost feels more likely, even if they don't have the flashy quarterback. I'm talking about the Rams. If they have they would feel more confident putting the offense in the hands of like a Jimmy Garoppolo, even as a proven guy that doesn't have a high ceiling, more than like, oh, let's put this in a rookie's hands. And that's the way it feels. I see a lot of people in the chat saying like they feel like Joe Burrow is coming to the Rams after Stafford. There's a lot of time that needs to pass before something like that happens. But would I be completely surprised if that happened? Not at all. Like I think that quarterback position is that important. And as Sheriff Joe Bag talks about, like that feels like a very real thing. McVay likes the veterans. He likes the proven guys. It makes sense. It makes your life a lot easier.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think that's a good segue. You ready to get into some over Rams actions?
Oh yeah. First off, I want to say I wish it wasn't an off-season edition of Over Rams Action Wednesday. I was really hoping we could get our first ever Super Bowl version, but don't want to twist that dagger anymore. So try to make it fun as much as we could here with the off-season edition of Over Rams Action Wednesday. And if this is your guys' first time here, it's going to look a little bit different because it's surrounding off-season topics rather than the upcoming game. But the game remains the same. Essentially, what I'm going to be doing to you is pitching to Peo Time of you guys in the chat, things that could be deemed as hot takes. And it's your guys' job to say if it's a hot take or if it's a fair take. So these are going to be right along the edge there for you guys to decide. And if it is a hot take, we like to call them over Rams actions because why not? So I've seen this topic talked about a lot. We're getting into number one here. The NFC Championship game felt like it was the Super Bowl. It felt like those were the two best teams playing, and whoever won that game was likely going to go on to win the Super Bowl. I'm saying the Rams blew the easiest opportunity they will ever get to win a Super Bowl under Sean McVay.
That's negative. Whoa. The Rams blew the easiest opportunity they will ever get for a Super Bowl in the Sean McVay era. I totally think that's an over Rams action. This season was not easy. The Rams worked for.
I'm talking about opponent though. Opponent in the Super Bowl. So we'd be playing.
So okay. I misunderstood the question.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, so if they win that game, they face the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough because the Patriots, they're such a hard team to gauge because they have had a pretty cakewalk schedule.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna say that's not an over Rams action though. I just think I think that the Rams and Seahawks were playing at a much higher level than the Patriots were. So I'm gonna say that's not an over Rams action. If Sean McVay gets the chance to go back to the Super Bowl again, probably the opponent will be better than the 2025 New England Patriots.
I think so. Now, does it mean that the Rams will never get a Super Bowl again because they blew this opportunity? No. And that's not what I'm saying. Like, it's just going to make it a lot more difficult. And that's the frustrating thing. Like Sheriff Joe Bag says here, he says, fair take. We would have beat the butt cheeks off the Pats. That's the funny thing, too, is like the Patriots have been winning games in the playoffs, and they've had an incredible year from going from like 4 wins, whatever it was, to where they are now. You got to give them credit. But even like, I don't know, the matchup looked very favorable. I'll just say that. And Drake May in the playoffs hasn't not really played that great. So again, it's ifs, ands, or buts, but just wanted to address this because I've seen this topic going around of like, this was the best chance that the Rams got. And that's kind of why it stung a little bit. Number 2, though, this is very interesting. I've seen more Rams fans talking about this, but as soon as we lost that game in Seattle, my mind went to, okay, Stafford window. We don't know how long the Stafford window is going to be open. Is he going to come back again? I think he will. But you don't know how much longer you have with Matthew Stafford, especially playing at this level. I'm saying the Rams will go all in again this season to make a push for a Super Bowl and maximize that Stafford window.
Ooh. Okay, so you're talking like trade and draft picks. Because, okay, I got to talk this out a little bit here. I'm curious about other people in the chat, what they're going to think. Because we're assuming Stafford is back. We're assuming Devontae's back. We're assuming Puka signs his extension. We know Kyron and Coram will be back. Maybe some tweaking on the O-line a little bit. This offense, for the most part, is coming back. Like, probably Tutu's gone.
Mm.
So, like, but with Puka and Adams, like you're not going to trade for another wide receiver. I don't see them trading for a running back. They're obviously not going to trade for a quarterback. So then the all-in mentality would go to the defensive side of the ball. You know that your front four you're keeping, you have Quentin Lake. Do the Rams try and trade for a corner, right? I guess that's the question of like, what is there to do when the team is like the team's Super Bowl ready, right?
Yeah.
So I guess going all in again in the sense of they're ready to spend some money, they're ready to make some trades. Yeah, okay, I'm going to say that's not an over Rams action. I'm curious what they do, but I struggle to find who's that player available for them to go all in to go get.
This one, I'm not gonna lie, I think about a few times that Edwin says here. Max Crosby, he's expensive, and he's gonna mean that you can't re-sign certain players. But Max Crosby, Jared Verse, Kobe Turner, like imagine that.
That'd be cool.
That'd be insane. I think no matter the way it looks, the Rams are gonna be more aggressive than they have been the last couple of years to be able to put a good team around it to make it feel like, okay, as long as health is good, we should be the complete favorites to go out and win a Super Bowl. Max Crosby would be insane. And I don't know if I'd put all my money on them doing that, but that's the kind of thing I'm thinking about. Like a Max Crosby going trading for a corner, doing something a little bit more aggressive than they have done the last couple of years. But here's what Ram Showcase says. I'm buying that because it feels like we know we are running low on time with some of these guys. This is what we meant when we were chanting run it back. Yeah, that's kind of where I sit with it because it's not only like Stafford and the window that we have with him. How many years do we have with him left? It's also like how many years can we keep these young guys that have been superstars in the league that we've drafted together before we have to pay and then let certain ones walk? So I think it's very real that they're going to be more all in than they have been since 2021. I don't think the Rams roster needs it as much in terms of like making all the different trades that they made that they did in 2021, but I think it's going to look a lot more like that than it has been the last couple of years here for the Rams.
Agreed.
I'm just reading through a couple different comments here. He said, yep, free agents win now. Agree with that. We'll see what they end up doing with that. All in, but there's much more to do. So yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of around the same sentiments with this, but yeah, I think that if you could get Max Crosby, that would be like an ideal scenario. And I have seen like a trade proposal of like Rams get rid of their two first round picks or one of their first round picks this year, one next year, and like Byron Young. As much as I would hate like getting rid of Byron Young, it's like to get Max Crosby across from Jared versus Byron Young would be in his contract year. Like I'm not against that at all. So
yeah,
I'm totally for this one for sure. Try to maximize it because what would feel worse, like maximizing it doesn't work out or the Rams not doing enough and being like, what if they just added those few players that they needed or be a little more aggressive? That could have been what we needed. So that's where I sit with that. But I appreciate all the feedback from you.
Yeah, we're getting lots of good conversation in the chat, guys. Thanks so much. Yeah.
All right. We're going to talk about cornerbacks here because we've been talking about cornerbacks a lot all season. There's been very strong opinions about it. And again, they struggled mightily in that Seattle game. I'm saying if the Rams don't invest in the cornerback position, whether that be a high draft pick, a big contract in free agency, whatever, they won't have a chance at winning the Super Bowl next year.
That's not an over Rams action. I think like that, and that's just because of the way NFL rosters are built, right? Like it's just you have to restart. You have the analogy I gave before, where you have to retake the test, retake the exam, and that's just the way it is. I think that the cornerback position, it's interesting because you go back to the draft last year, and pretty much every Rams fan out there was like, okay, the Rams probably going to take a corner early in the draft. They didn't take a corner at all. And early in the season, they were vindicated for that. Emmanuel Forbes was playing at a really high level. They had some really good play, from their secondary. But yeah, I think that as the season went on, the flaws of the secondary really came to light. And you saw teams, picking on Darius Williams, right?
Mhm.
There were games they were picking on Emmanuel Forbes, right? So if you have a
Mhm.
bunch of those corners that teams are like, oh, we're going to throw on this guy a lot, that's getting exposed.
Yeah. That's a good point. I think that too, these guys aren't all just bad. They have their moments, but they just weren't nearly consistent enough that you needed, like, consistently good enough. I saw a really good point. I can't remember if it was First and Tuna or if it was one of the creators in this Rams space brought up the fact that with the Rams not having great corners, it forces them to play a lot of zone, like a lot of zone, to where it can be kind of predictable what they're trying to run, and they're trying to disguise things all the time. So
Mm,
guys can't just play in their normal spots and be able to, like, they have to disguise things, they have to run to their spots, and basically it's easy to exploit, especially veteran quarterbacks who know where the zones are, soft spots, and all of that. So I think that's a good point there, and I think that
yeah.
one player that I don't think will get the chance to be able to do really well with the Rams as like a shutdown corner again is like, I don't think he's going to come back, but imagine Kobe Durant with like a shutdown corner next to him. I think he would do really well there in that position. And we saw that with Jalen Ramsey for a little bit, but Kobe Durant is a really good ball hawk and he has great ability of taking away the football. We've seen that. But if you're asking him to be like one of the number one guys to shut down like a JSN, that just doesn't fit well. But if you could get a guy who could be more of a shutdown kind of guy with that attitude, whatever, and you have a Kobe Durant or even a Forbes working off of him to be the ball hawk, I really don't mind that at all. But they don't really have that. They're forcing these guys to be the number one, and that's kind of where there's problems, I feel like.
I
But
think I'll just quickly say, I think it's funny. Every year for like the past 3 years, I've always seen comments on my videos being like, it's time for the Rams to have a true shutdown corner.
mm-hmm.
But the reality, like, shutdown corners don't just grow on trees, right? Like it's
No.
hard to find a true shutdown corner. I would love that, but I think it's funny that Ram fans are like, man, we need someone like Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
Well, he was a generational talent at the
Mm-hmm.
position.
It's kind of like when people are like, we guys, I know it now. We need to go out and get Saquon Barkley. It's like
Yeah,
those guys aren't just everywhere,
yeah,
but like you can find guys that are more that have more of the reputation of being like, okay, like this is a bigger name. This is a guy you're not going to win every rep, but you can rely on him more than you can like later round draft picks, like the Rams have been doing. But Rams Showcase says exactly correct. Your point on the Rams addressing the run defense is exactly why. So I'm glad that we're in agreement there. I feel very confident that they're going to try to address it. But we have a different opinion here from ESG. He says that's an over Rams action because it's too early to say we still need to see
fair.
what the offseason brings. That's
Yeah,
definitely fair.
very
I like
fair.
what Edwin says here, though. He says you can only hide your flaws for so long until you meet an opponent that will take advantage of them.
Yeah,
The Seahawks definitely did that. A lot of teams did that. Sometimes the Rams were able to come out with a win regardless of that. But yeah, I think the Rams are going to have to make some moves there. Otherwise, it's like, yeah, there's a pathway with some of the guys that we have there, but it's just like the margin for error is a lot thinner than it would be. So, last comment here before we move on from Edwin says, honestly, I feel like Shula didn't put our guys in good situations. We played receivers 5 to 8 yards away from them, and when they caught the ball, they had room to run, and we can't keep doing that. Yeah, it's a tough situation because if I feel like we saw a lot of times this year when we tried to press our corners and put them up closer, then we would get beat over the top, like Shaheed did to us with Darius Williams, like the Panthers did a couple times with their deep shots. So it's like it's hard because I can understand where Shula is coming from, where it's like these guys aren't guys you can just go up and press and ask them to lock them up, and that's where I feel like he's in a tough situation, Shula, of what to do with it, and you're going to have to rely on those disguises and doing things. But there were definitely a lot of frustrations with it for sure, and I'm in agreement with you there. But I wish I could read all the opinions here, but there's so many of them. We just
oh,
got to
good
keep
one.
going on. So, but I appreciate all your guys' input in here. This is a very interesting one. So we know that the Rams really leaned into 13 personnel this year, and I expect a lot of teams to be trying to build their team to have those 3 tight ends that can go out because it gives you a legitimate advantage. I don't think a lot of teams are expecting it. So we're gonna probably be losing Tyler Higbee, I would say pretty confidently, but we don't know for sure. He's a free agent that hasn't signed a contract yet with the Rams. I'm saying the Rams are going to do something surprising, and they're going to invest some money or a top pick into a tight end And that is going to help with their 13 personnel. They're going to lean into this 13 personnel more than they would in years past, and they're going to make it a strength. So they could get a Kyle Pitts, or they could use a high draft pick. I know they just used one on Terrence Ferguson, but I'm saying that the Rams are going to do something surprising, and they're going to get another legitimate tight end to make this even more dangerous.
Ooh, that's I haven't even thought about that. Let me think. Because I agree. I think Big Rig is moving on to a different truck stop. Not that he's gonna pass away. I think he's going to a different team. That analogy maybe was facetious. Anyway, I think I don't see they drafted Terrence Ferguson in the second round. Unless there's truly a game changer, like a Colston Loveland level talent, I don't see them drafting a tight end high. I could see them drafting in the mid rounds or late rounds. So investing big money or top pick into a tight end, I don't think so. I don't think they go for a Kyle Pitts. I don't think because they paid Kobe Parkinson a good chunk of money when they paid him. I think that they draft someone to develop, but I don't see them paying big money into it personally. From what I know, yeah,
I think that's fair. I mean, like you said, Parkinson got a big contract. We just got Ferguson. My brain just only wanders to the scenario because McVay is keeping up with trends and everything that's working and doing all of that. So if McVay thinks that this is sustainable and they continue to work in this 13 personnel and this is the time to strike with those 3 tight ends, I could see him being let's just double down. Let's add on another great tight end and operate out of that. And you can still have Devontae and Puka and the 13 personnel rotating, keeping them fresh. But it would be insane to imagine them to double up on tight end and do something good. Just think about the possibilities with that. If I was a betting man, I probably wouldn't bet on them doing that, but I have to acknowledge the possibility. It's kind of like when the 49ers traded up to get Trey Lance all those years ago, and Kyle Pitts was a guy who's going to go in the top 5. And McVay talked about, he was worried about them having George Kittle and then getting Kyle Pitts on top of that for the nightmare it would be to defend that. So I think this one's a little bit outlandish, but I feel like McVay's probably thought about it a couple times. But Ram Showcase says Higbee leaves, and yes, Rams add a tight end. I think we all are in agreement that they add a tight end. It's just how aggressively do they push into that? Interesting take. He says, go ahead.
First off, I'm excited for Ferguson year 2. I think he's going to come along. But hear me out. Rams house to everyone. Hunter Long, bring him back.
Oh my gosh, the Hunter Long dream.
I mean, we had to trade Jalen Ramsey to get Hunter Long.
We did. He was a valuable guy there, apparently. Yeah. Edwin says, I don't think we do, especially after we got Ferguson in an early round. I think, especially with some extensions that they're going to have to make, it would definitely be a bold thing to do. But, I mean, hey, if they like 13 personnel enough, I feel like we can all admit that, Ferguson has the highest floor by far. He's most athletic. He has the most, again, highest floor. And we can expect that. But this year, there was never really an elite tight end in this Rams tight end room. And I can only imagine if we added a really good tight end into this room with how well it worked with guys that are they're good, they're above average, but just imagine if we had just added somebody else there. But let's see, who's a white tight end we could add though? That's a good question. Maybe we trade for Tyler Warren. No, I don't know. That's a good one though. They all do look the same.
Hunter Long.
That's true. Hunter Long, he's right there. All right. Wait, before we move on, this comment's hilarious to me. Mike says, does Reader switch to tight end? That's got to be the answer. That's the only way, because then he can win the Super Bowl MVP when we go there next year. Maybe that's the answer. It was right in front of us the whole time. Yeah, seriously. All right, my last offseason version of Over Rams action is, I think we talked about this earlier on in the year, but I'm bringing it back again. Rams have 2 first-round picks this year. One is 13th. The other is 29th, if I remember correctly. And I'm saying that, the Rams have 2 first-round picks, but they're not going to use a single one of them in this draft.
You went there. You think they're just going to totally trade out of the first round or trade those picks for proven
Max
start?
Crosby? Question mark.
Pardon?
Max Crosby? Question mark.
Max
Yeah,
Crosby?
either they trade out of the first round or they go and get a big veteran, a big play that can help with the Rams the next year.
You know what? I'm going to say that's not an overreaction. I just think we have such a history of like drafting philosophy. I don't think it's crazy for the Rams to like, especially if like a Max Crosby or a star player becomes available. I don't think it's crazy to think that the Rams would use their first round picks to acquire them, right? And maybe it is even they stockpile future first round picks for another draft for when they do have the opportunity to get like a quarterback or something. But if okay, on a scale of 1 to 100, and you guys do this in the chat, what percentage do you think there is the Rams use both their first round picks this year? Are you 100% they're going to use them both, or are you like 75%? I am 50-50. I think there's a chance that I would say I'm like 90% sure they trade one of them in some capacity. Maybe it's trading out of the first round, but I think to trade both of them away, I'm actually 50-50 myself. Call me crazy.
I think that my percentage in terms of them using both, like actually selections in the first round, for them to use both of them, I would put my percentage of like 20%. Like I'm not confident that the Rams are going to use both of them in a traditional way of just like, all right, yep, here's the pick. Let's just stay where we're at. Let's just make the pick. I think that they're going to trade in some sort of fashion, but Sheriff Throwback says over Rams action. I think we move one to add another first next year, but we use our own pick. I think that's fair too. I think it's just as a Rams fan, you can't be confident about them using both just traditionally with the way that they've run their organization. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but that's kind of where I'm at. This is an all-in move right here. I see in the chat. I think the Rams should definitely do this. You guys can have Drew Lock. Maybe that's what we use our first round picks for. Maybe that's the push that we need
here. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, that's a great suggestion there. Probably from the Seahawks fan. Edwin says, I say we do use them both, the first for a receiver and second for a cornerback, but knowing less, he might just say F them picks. I'm here for all of it. In McVay and Snead, we trust.
Yep.
I think it's going to be unconventional, regardless of what they do with it. I think it's not going to be a traditional way that they use these two picks, and that makes me excited.
Yeah.
But Sheriff Joback says 60% confident. Going back to what you were asking earlier, Edwin says 80%, and we got another 60 from Johnny Ripple. So people are kind of in the same boat in this one, but it's going to be interesting. I'll tell you what, like I'm excited to see whatever the Rams do with these first round picks. I just think it's not going to be normal, whatever they do with it. And that makes me excited because it's like first round picks are fun to talk about if you use them traditionally, but the Rams don't typically use them traditionally. And that makes me excited. So that's going to wrap up the Over Rams Action Wednesday offseason edition. But
those are good. Those are good. Well, thank you for coming up with those. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. So we got the what's more likely offseason edition, but it's just the Rams. I'm curious to see what you have here.
I do. So first off, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in with us. It's interesting. I feel like this is our most watched show ever, and here it is. This is the off season here.
It's like right next to that Bears preview that we did
with us. This is what's more likely, but it's just the Rams. I will give you and Rams House two scenarios, and then you put in the chat which one you think is more likely. And if you're someone that's like both or neither, we're gonna say pick a lane, right? Because we that's not how the game works. We want to have some fun here. But my goal of this is to try and make you guys go, make you think. Okay, so I'm gonna see if we can make that happen here. Okay. I'm starting off with a bit of a complex one here. So what's more likely, but it's just the Rams. So Brown, Montana, Favre, Manning, and Rodgers all won back-to-back MVPs. What's more likely? Oh, got the timer thing again.
Classic timer. Doing timer things.
Wait, I'm getting rid of the timer thing now. Okay, I don't want.
All right, yeah, you got it.
Why did you do that to a StreamYard? Okay.
I know, classic.
Okay. What's more likely? Stafford wins MVP in back-to-back seasons, or the Rams make a trade involving a first-round pick?
I'm going to go second one. I think
Yeah.
that the Rams are going to make a trade involving a first-round pick in some capacity. For what player, for what reason they're doing it, I don't really know yet, but I do feel pretty confident about that. And I think, winning back-to-back MVPs is incredibly hard, no matter how good you are. So I'm going to go the second one for sure.
Okay, that's fair. Now per our conversation we've just been having, I'm realizing, you know what, I probably didn't do a good job making that. Okay, you know what, I didn't start off as hot as I thought I was. Seems like we're all on the same page. That's on me.
You're good.
Okay.
Take it on the chin.
Let me just get that off the screen. Okay.
Yeah.
This one. Okay. This one, I'm proud of this one here. What's more likely? The Rams have a new kicker week 1 of the season, or Xavier Smith is returning punts for the Rams week 1.
That's a really good one. I'm gonna have to go Xavier Smith.
Nevis is coming back.
Yeah, I feel pretty confident he is, though.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go Xavier Smith is returning punts again, because again he had a really good regular season. This was the first time that came up, and I don't think the Rams ever want to go down that hole again of the kicker situation. Nevis only missed one all year, so I'm gonna go the second one.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I think so. Sheriff Joe is saying X gonna give it to you. Okay. I like it. A lot of people are saying Xavier Smith. Okay. All right. So the one bad performance we're not going to hold against X Factor. Okay. All right. I like it. But yeah, in the interest of realistically, both these things could very well happen.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay. Who is more likely to retire? Stafford, Higbee, Rob Havenstein, or Jake McQuaid?
Rob Havenstein all day.
Yeah.
That one, it looked good at first, but then when I saw Rob Havenstein in there, I'm like, I think he's legitimately considering it. He said that he was actually, that's crossed his mind.
Okay, pick two. Got to make it harder on you.
Okay, Rob Havenstein and Jake McQuaid then.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like Jake McQuaid's coming back if we try to make one more run at it, but I go Havenstein and McQuaid.
Okay, a lot of people were saying Rob. I actually think there's a chance Higbee retires. He's been battling injuries. Does Higbee really want to go play for another team? I don't know.
That's a good point. He may want to come back on a discount, but yeah, Edwin agrees with you here.
Yeah,
Big rig.
Me and Edwin are on the same page. I think it's Robin the big rig.
That's interesting. I don't really know. I feel like Higbee hasn't really dropped off.
I love how Jake McQuaid, who at 39 years old, no one's.
I feel like it's just like it's less wear and tear on you as a long snapper. Like you don't get as many opportunities. But I don't know. He'll be 40, which is crazy.
Fair enough. Maybe out of that crew, only Stafford returns, right?
Yeah. He's the one that I want most likely to return. Like all of us want Stafford to return the most out of these 4 for sure.
Right. Okay, this next one's maybe a little complicated, everyone. Hear me out. Knowing the Rams have 10 draft picks going into this draft, they might get some. Wait, are they projected to get comp picks?
I think so.
Okay, wait. That actually make me change this ever so slightly.
Okay.
There we go. What's more likely? A Rams YouTuber has a long form video with more than 100,000 views this season, or the Rams draft more than 13 players.
I'm going to go the optimistic approach. 100,000 views for somebody. I don't know who, but More than 13 players. You saw how tough it was for a Ram to make the roster this year
Yeah.
with how set they were there. I don't think that they're in a place like they were a couple years ago where they had to draft like 14 players just to fill like the roster out. So I'm gonna go the first one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah. Looks like a lot of people are saying, okay, wow, okay. People are saying, okay.
I saw what you saw.
Ram fans are drop off hard when Dodgers are fired. You know what? That's a good point, Sheriff Joe.
Honestly. Wait, yeah, go to Edwin's comment on the bottom. I like that one.
Yeah.
Sheriff Joe deserves 100,000 views all day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's get Sheriff Joe back. That 100,000 views.
You know what? If it happens to Joe, I want it to be on like a random episode of Ram Showcase where he's like, "What did I do different?"
It just makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, that's what I would want it to happen to Joe if it happened to anyone.
That'd be hilarious.
Okay,
that's a good one though.
That was fun. Okay, last one here.
All right,
you know it was Troy Reader. Okay. What's more likely? Troy Reader makes the 2026 Rams or Stetson Bennett throws a pass in the regular season game.
Troy Redeemer. That's so funny.
Oh, did I
like that nickname? I kind of like that nickname though, Troy Redeemer.
Troy, you know what? We're leaving it there. I spelled it.
We gotta leave it.
Redeemer, Troy Redeemer.
I'm gonna say Troy Reader makes the 2026 Rams. Every time you think he's gone, he comes back. I'm going to put it on that. And that's also kind of optimistic because I hope we don't see Stetson Bennett in the regular season.
Right. Troy. Oh, Troy Reader. Troy Redeemer. I love it.
I like it. Both
locker room guy. Locker room guy. Ultimate locker room guy.
He's like a coach on the field, apparently.
Apparently, yeah. All right, that's going to do it for this first off-season edition of What's More Likely, but it's just the Rams. Thanks, everyone, for playing along, and thank you, Rams House, for playing along as well.
Yeah, I did want to let people know here that next week we won't have a first on Rams just because of scheduling issues, but we are coming up with a way to be able to do this in the off-season. It'll look a little bit different in terms of the structure of the show than a regular season, just because we don't want to be doing What's More Likely's and Over Rams actions every week and they kind of start sounding the same. So whatever that has planned, we're going to still be here in the off season, but don't expect us next week just because of some scheduling issues. But thank you everybody who's in the chat tonight interacting. You had a lot of fun. And I can say I feel just like that 1% better after that loss, being able to do this with you guys. So appreciate you all.
Totally agree. The healing begins. Yes.
Yeah, it does. It begins on first down Rams, apparently. That's like our slogan. The healing begins on first down Rams.
Yeah. We'll workshop that.
We have to.
Thanks, everyone. As always, go Rams, horns up, and peace out. And
horns up and God bless. You say it there,
Good night, everybody. Have a good week.
Oh, yeah.